happen in some of these most controversial pardons that we have seen from President Trump. And legal experts say part of the reason for having the Justice Department involvement is to not only help him vet the merits of the cases, but also to give him a little political distance, if you will. Obviously, he hasn't followed through on that. There's nothing in the Constitution that says that he has to use the Justice Department process. And I should mention that President Bill Clinton did it over 40 times, Wolf.
You cover the Justice Department for us, Laura. When the president says a prosecution was unfair, do prosecutors over there feel like their work is being undermined and denigrated?
Well, I think you definitely see from U.S. attorneys across the country who are working hard on public corruption cases that this is a little bit of a disturbing move. You saw tweets from some like Preet Bharara today, the former U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York, saying this was a fair prosecution, and especially in cases where someone has pled guilty, admitted guilt to the court. I think the U.S. attorneys feel like this is a little bit of a slap in the face, Wolf.
All right, Laura, thank you. Laura Jarrett reporting for us. Joining us now, legal scholar Jed Sugarman. He's a Fordham Law School professor and CNN national security and legal analyst. Susan Hennessy, a former National Security Agency attorney. Professor Sugarman, do you believe that these pardons were made with the intent of sending some sort of message to potential witnesses in the Russia probe?
Well, I think you have to look at the pattern here with each of the pardons that Trump has given. First, with Sheriff Joe Arpaio, that happened in August, and we know behind the scenes that Trump was talking about firing Mueller at around that time, and that's when the Trump Tower meeting was being exposed. It was a time of high pressure. And then look at when he pardoned Scooter Libby. You can look at the charges. Scooter Libby was convicted of obstruction of justice, so that's one connection. And that happened 4 days after the Cohen raid, the raid of Michael Cohen's office and hotel and home. So the timing is dramatic here, because this comes also after some revelations about Michael Cohen's search, that the shredded documents might be unshredded and put back together, and how much pressure Michael Cohen's investigation puts on Trump. So it's hard not to see the connections here.
You know, Susan, let's remind our viewers what the U.S. Constitution has to say about the president's ability to issue pardons. This is what the Constitution says. The president shall have power to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States, except in cases of impeachment. So is that power absolute and unreviewable?
Yeah, so this is clearly within the president's constitutional power, and it is an unreviewable power at that. But this still is an abusive use of that power. So just because it falls within what the president is able to do constitutionally, that doesn't mean that he isn't wielding it improperly. What it means is that the only accountability here is a political one, and that's one of the reasons why it's so disturbing that we aren't seeing any pushback or nearly enough pushback from congressional Republicans.
How do you see it, Professor? Is the president dangling pardons in order to impede an investigation into himself for all practical purposes? Are there limits to his authority to go ahead and issue these kinds of pardons?